Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to another edition of Crimes of the Week International.
Authorities in the English county of Hampshire say that they're searching for two men behind a terrifying attempted kidnapping this week after they tried to take a 2-year-old girl from her mother in broad daylight. According to reports, the incident took place sometime just before 11 a.m. on May 11th when a mother and her 2-year-old daughter were walking through a neighborhood in the town of Ringwood, known as the Mount. As the mother and daughter were walking, they were approached by two unknown men who began talking to them under the guise of being interested in their dog. However, in an instant, the situation went from innocent to terrifying when one of the men abruptly picked up the 2-year-old and began running towards a nearby housing development. Luckily, the commotion set off the family's dog, who was able to quickly catch up to the kidnapper and bite him on the leg. Once the dog got a hold of the kidnapper, he reportedly released the girl, and he and his accomplice fled. The mother and daughter were left shaken, but thankfully otherwise unharmed. Authorities say they're now searching for the two suspects, who have been described as men in their late 30s who are both approximately 5'7" tall. They were both wearing baseball caps at the time of the incident, and one was dressed in light jeans while the other was dressed in dark jeans. While police say that they're reviewing local surveillance footage and conducting interviews in the area, they're also asking for any members of the community who might have seen something to come forward. In particular, police say that they're interested in information on anyone who may have suffered a recent dog bite to one of their legs. At the time of this recording, the situation is still developing.
Authorities in the Australian state of New South Wales say that they are investigating a large illegal drug smuggling operation this week following the death of a diver who was believed to be involved in the crime. According to reports, the whole thing began at around 9:30 a.m. on May 9th, when the body of a man was found on the banks of the Hunter River in the port city of Newcastle. The man was wearing high-end diving gear, including a wetsuit and an expensive rebreather. While police initially didn't know what to make of the man's death, things started to become clear a short time later, when 54 kilograms, or roughly 120 pounds of cocaine, was found close to where the man's body had been found. It was at this point that police realized that they had likely stumbled across part of a larger drug smuggling operation. Further investigation revealed the likely source of the drugs, a container ship from Argentina that had docked in Newcastle the day before the diver's body was discovered. It's now believed that the 54 kilograms of cocaine police recovered was part of a larger shipment that may have been attached to the hull of the container ship. Authorities say that the entire shipment may have been worth upwards of $100 million. It's suspected that the diver died sometime during the process of retrieving the drugs from underneath the container ship. Based on witness accounts from the night of May 8th, detectives believe that the diver was not acting alone. At least 2 boats were supposedly spotted near the container ship that evening, and it's suspected that the diver may have been working with others who were able to get away with the rest of the smuggled drugs. So far, police have not released further details about the diver's death, so it's not clear if he drowned or instead may have been the victim of foul play. So far, he has only been identified as a foreign national. 2 days after the discovery of the diver's body, on May 11th, police announced that an arrest had been made in connection with the case. The man in question is said to be the 62-year-old owner of a super yacht touring company named James Blee. Blee was reportedly arrested at the Cairns airport while trying to flee the country by boarding a flight to Singapore. While Blee is suspected of being involved in arranging the illegal cocaine shipment, apparently his relationship with the deceased diver is currently unknown. At the time of this recording, Blee has not been charged in connection with the man's death, and police say that they are still searching for others believed to have been involved in the smuggling operation. The incident is currently under investigation.
Authorities in the Brazilian state of Santa Catarina say that they have arrested a group of credit card scammers this week after they were allegedly involved in stealing tens of thousands of dollars from unsuspecting people in order to fund their lavish lifestyles. According to reports, the group of criminals consisted of 2 men and 2 women who allegedly used stolen banking and credit card information that they had obtained from scams on the deep web. An investigation reportedly revealed that the suspects had used banking details obtained from their victims to obtain fraudulent credit cards and transfer large amounts of money to shell accounts that had been set up under other people's names. In total, police say the scammers were able to steal more than 1 million Brazilian real this way, a sum that translates to roughly $200,000 US. The money was allegedly used to purchase luxury goods, cars, and at least 2 different properties in Rio de Janeiro. The suspects have since been identified as Diego Ferreira, William Chikorsky, Fernanda Natalina dos Santos Lima, and Angelica de Jesus Albert. Police say that the group of 4 were finally taken down on the morning of May 12th when they were caught using their stolen funds trying to purchase jewelry at a high-end store in the Rio de Janeiro neighborhood of Leblon. The alleged scammers apparently had no idea that authorities were onto them and were apparently quite surprised when they were placed under arrest. According to police, despite being caught off guard, the suspects were far from remorseful, and once in custody, quickly offered police a bribe of roughly $30,000 to be let go. Officers declined and instead booked the group on charges of embezzlement, criminal association, active corruption, and possession of a restricted use firearm.
Authorities in the Japanese city of Sapporo say that a 21-year-old man is in custody this week following a terrifying incident in which he allegedly broke into his ex-girlfriend's apartment armed with a knife. According to reports, the situation began just after midnight on May 8th, when a woman in her 20s showed up at a police station in the city's Toyohira ward. Upon arriving, she told officers that her 21-year-old ex-boyfriend was in her apartment and he had a knife. The woman explained that earlier that night, she and her ex had exchanged messages online. They had recently broken up, and during the discussion, the 21-year-old had stated that he was coming to her apartment, despite the woman repeatedly telling him not to. Unsure what to do, the woman had left her apartment and had hidden outside to see if she could spot the ex-boyfriend coming and try to convince him to leave. After a while of not seeing anything, the woman returned to her apartment only to discover that her ex was already inside, having somehow made a duplicate of her key. Even more alarming, he was carrying a knife. When police accompanied the woman back to her residence, they found the 21-year-old man inside just as she had described. The man claimed that he just wanted to talk, though apparently offered no explanation for why he needed a knife to do so. He was arrested for unauthorized entry into the woman's apartment, though it's unclear if he is currently facing any charges. At the time of this recording, none of the names of those involved have been released.
Authorities in the special Chinese administrative region of Macau say that they're investigating a mysterious suspected double homicide this week after the bodies of 2 unknown women were found in a hotel room at a popular resort and casino. According to reports, the incident began at around 1 a.m. on May 7th when local police received a report about a serious incident at the MGM Cotai Casino Resort, located on the Cotai Strip. Investigators arrived to find the nude, lifeless bodies of 2 women who were lying on the ground in one of the casino's 9th-floor hotel rooms. A preliminary investigation into the deaths revealed no signs of a struggle, though both women reportedly had strangulation marks on their necks. It's believed that both women were killed with the belt from a bathrobe, and the scene allegedly showed signs of an attempted cleanup. Aside from these details, little else is currently known about the chilling and mysterious case. According to reports, no identity documents belonging to either woman could be found in the room, and at the current time, police are still trying to find out who the victims are. At the time of this recording, police are awaiting the results of a more thorough autopsy, and the situation is still developing.
If you're a regular viewer of our Crimes of the Week International series, then you'll probably remember that last week we brought you the heartbreaking story of Hillary Gardy. Hillary was the 28-year-old daughter of Goderic Gardy, a former prominent member of South Africa's Economic Freedom Fighters political party. On the afternoon of April 29th, Hillary abruptly disappeared after making a trip to a local shopping center in the city of Mbombela, where she visited a grocery store at around 5:30 p.m. At the time she went missing, Hillary was with her young daughter. Though the child was thankfully later returned home safely, a search for Hillary lasted for several more days, until tragically on May 3rd, her lifeless body was found at a timber plantation, roughly 40 kilometers from where she had last been seen alive. She had been shot in the head. At the time of our last report, the case had generated widespread media coverage as well as significant public outrage within South Africa, though police had not named any suspects in their investigation. That all changed this week, though, when 3 men were arrested in connection with Hillary's murder. According to local media, the first arrest to be made came on May 6th, when a 39-year-old man named Sipho Mukachwa was taken into custody in the neighboring province of Limpopo. Over the next 2 days, 2 other men were arrested in and around Mbombela. They have since been identified as 47-year-old Philemon Lukele and 52-year-old Albert Gama. At the time that the arrests were announced, detectives involved in the case mentioned that in addition to taking the men into custody, they were also investigating a property in Mbombela in connection with the crime. It's been widely speculated that this is the location where Hillary was murdered before being taken to the place where she was found. However, since the initial mention of the property, police have not released any updates confirming or denying this. Unfortunately, while the 3 suspects are now in custody and are facing a number of charges including murder, possession of an unlicensed firearm, and conspiracy to commit murder, little has been revealed to the public in terms of what led police to the alleged perpetrators or what their motives were. At least one of the men, Philemon Lukele, is said to have worked in the office of a prominent member of the Mpumalanga state legislature, though as far as we're aware, this has not been connected to the case in any way. At the time of this recording, the situation is still under investigation.
Authorities in the Netherlands say that they are investigating a deadly shooting at a care home this week after a former patient illegally obtained a weapon and shot 4 people. According to reports, the incident took place just before 11 a.m. on May 6th when the 38-year-old suspect arrived at the Trotardy Care Home and Farm in the town of Alblasserdam. The facility provides therapy to adults and young people with disabilities and mental health issues. While it's not exactly clear from reports how the violence began, what we do know is that once at the care home, the 38-year-old suspect began shooting. 2 people were killed and 2 others were wounded during the attack. While none of the names of the victims have been released, the deceased have been identified as a 34-year-old woman and a 16-year-old girl. The wounded victims have been identified as a 20-year-old woman and a 12-year-old boy. According to local media, police were quick to arrive at the crime scene and arrested the alleged shooter at a park close to where the incident took place. At the time of the man's arrest, the weapon believed to have been used in the attack was also seized. So far, the man has only been identified as a man named John S. No motive has currently been established behind the attack, though it's said that the 38-year-old was formerly a patient at the care home. He reportedly suffered from mental health issues and was previously known to police. Sadly, it appears that the victims in this week's shooting may not have been the only ones to have been killed by John S. Police now say that they are investigating a second incident that happened 2 days earlier, in which a man from the city of Vlissingen was also shot and killed. It's believed that the 38-year-old may have committed that crime too in order to, quote, test out his weapon. At the time of this recording, both incidents are still under investigation.
Authorities in multiple countries say that they are investigating a brazen and tragic murder this week after a well-known Paraguayan prosecutor was assassinated during his honeymoon in Colombia. According to reports, the incident took place on May 10th on the popular tourist island of Baru, located on Colombia's Caribbean coast. It was here that 45-year-old Paraguayan prosecutor Marcelo Pecci and his new wife Claudia Aguilera were enjoying the 6th and final day of their honeymoon. As the two were relaxing on a private beach at their resort that morning, 2 men appeared in the distance. According to Claudia, they were either traveling on a small boat or a jet ski. As the men pulled up near the beach, one of them reportedly got out of the water and walked up to Marcelo, proceeding to shoot him twice without a word before escaping. Marcelo died almost instantly. Adding further tragedy to the situation was the fact that just 2 hours earlier, Claudia had posted a picture to her Instagram account announcing that she and Marcelo were expecting a baby. Based on eyewitness descriptions and a blurry photo taken of the shooter, police have since created a sketch of the subject which has been circulated. Both Paraguayan authorities and officials from the U.S. have since stated that they will be sending investigators to help catch the culprits responsible for Marcelo's murder. As for the motive behind the crime, it's widely believed that it was connected to Marcelo's work as a prosecutor. The 45-year-old was well known in Paraguay for going after drug trafficking and organized crime, and just earlier this year was part of an international team that broke up a ring which smuggled drugs from Colombia and Bolivia through Paraguay and into Europe. The operation resulted in the seizure of hundreds of millions of dollars worth of assets and led to the arrests of dozens of suspects, and was the largest of its kind in Paraguay's history. It's easy to see how it could have made Marcelo a target for powerful drug cartels. While Claudia told reporters and investigators that she and her husband had not received any threats ahead of their honeymoon, they were traveling unprotected. In Paraguay, Marcelo was normally surrounded by bodyguards, but the couple apparently chose not to take private security with them on their vacation. Colombian officials likewise say that they were not even aware that Marcelo was in the country until the time of his murder. One other detail worth mentioning is a claim from one of Marcelo's friends, who said that this week's attack might have actually been the second recent attempt on the prosecutor's life. According to the friend, on the couple's wedding day on April 30th, an SUV without license plates had tried to block Marcelo's car on the way back from the ceremony. However, the prosecutor's bodyguard was able to maneuver them out of the situation. At the time of this recording, the situation is still developing, and Colombian police have announced a $500,000 reward for any information leading to an arrest in the case. That brings us to the end of this edition of Crimes of the Week International. If you're a fan of the new series, don't forget to tell us in the comments section below. While you're there, make sure to subscribe to Crime Zone for more true crime content like this, making sure to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest videos. Thank you for watching.